In about 1 minute, we're going to be with Trace, and he's going to do a demonstration for us tonight. We're going to talk about piercing, and that's, in fact, that's what I think is what this says. Well, there he is. Ocean Springs, Mississippi on piercing tonight. And Trace is going. I tell you what, I love this piercing thing. It's you can decorate almost anything that doesn't move, and then those pieces have got are in danger. Trace, did you do this piece here?
Yeah. Okay. I guess I'm up on it.
Yeah,
This
you're
is a
on.
piece. This is a piece I did in one of Ben Poe's classes, and it's nothing more than a piece of plywood, thin plywood, and it was working on airbrushing and piercing. And you got a butterfly in there. The butterfly's cut out first, and then you go all the way to the edges around here, getting the rest of this in here on these other joints. If you airbrush a piece, airbrush it before you pierce it, though, always. And the reason why is when you put the masking down for the airbrush, you could break out some of the piercings. But this was a practice piece I did. I showed you the worst first. I should show you the better one now. This is a piece that Ben Poe did during in the class. A couple things I'll point out. This is just a little swirly. If you notice the pattern on here, he's got a dragonfly here. The wing is pierced outside of it, but inside of the pierced area, he kept it solid. And these are just little ziggly lines is all they are. And the other thing that is happening on here, there's no firm line between this and the piercing. So what he's done is he's graduated it on out. He sort of shaded it on out with piercing. Same thing down in this section here. These are waves. This is a waveforms here. Same as this pattern here. But it's a waveform. It's pierced, and it has the individual sections in it. And then he's also added a little, a few things transitioning on out to the outside of it.
That's some amazing work, really.
A couple other things. These are some stuff I've done. So I'll back this out. This is I've done several lighthouses, and left the fish in there, pierced around it. Same thing on that side, and then added musical notes at the top of it, piercing around the edges. The Pascagoula River is known as the Singing River, and that's the reason for the design on it. It's the Singing River, with the music flowing around it. So it's representative of the Pascagoula River.
Cool.
And that was just straight pierced on that. This one here, I've got a fish up at the top of it. And I've done just little swirly things on the front of it. And on the back of it, where the scales are, I've sort of done little shapes on there. For the fins, I just added the lines on there. And the rest of it is just open piercing. That's on this side here. This is representative of Katrina's, what the whole thing's for. Going backwards on this. Let's see, get this back out. This was representative of the storm with the pattern, with the hurricane patterns swirling around on it. Rough waves. I broke the top of it. Actually, this is challenging to do that, and this is very challenging to try to make it look like it's broken. And the top, it's gold leafed, and then I damaged it and did some brushing on it. And hurricane flags torn up. And this is representative of recovery from the storm. and that spells HOPE in the signal flags. Another piece on piercing. Again, similar fish pattern at the top. I've thrown a crab into it, which I've got a shape in there, but I also airbrushed it in there to help highlight it. Down at the bottom, I've got a crab that I simply put into the middle of it here, and he flows up into the other section. His claw actually moves around here, it's pierced here, and then comes back into the section here. And his foot's coming in here too. Another fish, crab here, and his fins are dropped back into the piercing. The other thing that's sort of neat on this, look at the color here. It's blue now, and it comes back around, and it changes color as it's on the edges.
That's neat.
See the color change? It's green on that side, and as it goes back around, it'll turn to blue.
Yeah.
I'll show you what that is. It's nothing more. And you look at the details, it's simply a scratch pattern into it. And it's airbrushed blue in this direction and green in this direction. So when you look at it straight on, you see it combined. But when you come back on the other side, you see the green, see all the green here. And this way, it's all blue. On it.
That's awesome. I've never heard of anything like that.
That's beautiful, Trey.
And this is the last little piece I did, and it's similar piercing. It's just this piercing here is just a little zigzag piercing around here. And I just added the paint lines to it, crab thrown into the middle of it, and continuing with the ocean wave pattern. And this was just simply to put some highlight on it. So,
That is fabulous.
Yeah, badass.
What's the material you used for the wood?
Cool.
I think it's pear. I think
Okay.
pear is what I've used on most of these.
Incredible.
Very nice.
Gorgeous work, Trace. Gorgeous work. Thank you.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
What are you piercing it with?
What do I do? What?
What are you piercing with?
Well, that's what I'm gonna get to. I'm gonna flip over my camera to the other side, and
Oh, okay.
we'll get over there, and that's what I'm gonna get to. And this was just showing some examples and some of the stuff I've done to get to do it. So, and I'm moving over to the other side over here. And what I am piercing with, I'm using a Presto NSK. It's made by NSK. It's a Presto, it's the brand name. It's the one without the water on it. The dental labs use it. It's where it normally was used from. It's high speed. It turns up about 350,000 RPM. And it sounds like a dentist is what it sounds like when you're there. I'm running it through. I guess I got to move this around a little bit. You can see it. I don't know, I'm probably hiding from everything else. It's hard to move. I've got a little regulator over here that I'm bringing my air into it. I got a little regulator here to maintain it, dryer, and then a valve on here to turn it on and off. Stand when I'm doing anything. The bits I am using on it, there are two types of bits that I'm using, that I use. This one is a 699L, and I also use a 169L. The difference between the two is the 699L you use for hardwoods, the 169L you use for softwoods. And that's really the primary difference between the two. The L indicates long. And in both cases, these bits are nothing more than a long tapered bit. I'll try to get the zoom all the way into it. Focus.
Are they carbide, Trey?
Yes, they are carbide.
Thank you.
It's the same thing the dentists use. And
Yeah.
it's strictly a real fine taper bit on it. And they're carbide bits, they're not abrasive.
Thank you.
When you're putting that bit into the tool, because the bit is so long and tapered, if you're careful, you'll bust it. They make a little insertion tool that has a hole in the end that's sized to be able to grab that bit, and it's put in by just simply pushing in there. It's a friction fit. And remove it. You turn this back off again.
Oh, there you
You
are.
rotate this and it pops it back out.
Good boy. I've been
So it's
waiting.
easier to put it in and out. And again, these are dental burrs.
Good boy.
So let's go ahead and pierce a couple things. I just did this earlier this afternoon. And it was just a pattern on there that was pierced on it. I also played around with, if you can see, I don't know if you can see this on here. You see a color shift between red and blue. Can you see it or not? I don't know.
It's showing up. The red is not coming out really red, but it's like
It's almost
purple.
like red dots. It's stippled, not pierced. Stippling being just a polka dot pattern on it with a round burr. Well, let's go ahead and get a little piercing in. Now, when I pierce, I like to move from right to left. And the reason why is I get to see what I'm getting into. I get to see the part that I'm getting to. So I'm coming in here, insert clockwise. If I need to clean it up, I'll go the opposite direction. And I'm telling you the wrong thing. I want to go from left to right, not the other way. There's a reason for it, and the reason is that when I pierce this here, see, it just melts. I want to be able to see if I'm right-handed. If I move it in that direction, I can see what I've just done, where to get my line to. Okay, this bit, and it's not dirty yet, but this bit will clog up. The way to clean it, I got a piece of aluminum here. You can use steel or aluminum, doesn't make any difference. And I'll clean some of the shavings off the bit. Remember, it's carbide, so it won't dull it. And because the bit is moving so fast, it has no torque on it. It has no directional control. You control it fully by the direction you move it. A slower speed bit will actually will try to pull in a direction.
Now, Trey, if you wanted to widen one of those holes, would you just start cutting at the part where you wanted to widen?
When you take wide, you make the hole bigger.
Yes.
Yes, I can come in here on this one here.
Very cool. Thank you. Excellent.
And then cleaning it up, you go the opposite direction. Now, I will come back afterwards. I didn't bring any out here. I use those little Swiss files to do cleanup. Because this edge right here, if you notice, it's not perfectly flat. And I'll take that little Swiss file and clean it up with the file. And that's pretty much, I didn't do a very good job of, but that's pretty much. The other one is the other pattern that's just a little zigzag pattern that you saw that Ben used. That was strictly something like that.
What would be the maximum thickness you would use those bits for?
This one here is, I guess I'm about 1/8 of an inch. I would recommend a thickness from 3/32 to, maybe 5/32.
Thank you.
A 1/16 of an inch is too thin. The problem is it gets very easy to break when you get too thin. So a little bit thicker than that. So that's the reason why I said 3/32. 1/8 inch is about ideal. If you get too thin, it breaks out too badly on you.
Thank you.
And I could just keep on going and doing stuff, but that's the basic pierce. That little scratch pattern is nothing more than a pattern of that nature.
And is that what you did to do your scratch pattern before you did your painting with the
Yes, it
green
is.
and blue paint?
I did this one a little bit between the blue and red. It's more red that direction. It's probably hard to see, but more red that direction, and then you got the blue in that direction. And it's
Yeah,
which-
it's coming through purple on this side, but you can see it on the blue and green on your vessel.
yeah.
Which bit are you using for scratching, there, Trey?
It's just simply it's a square. It's not a one of those. It's a different bit, and it's just a straight square bit.
Okay.
It just the shape of it. I need Johnny's pencil plan, but the shape of that bit there is just like that.
Okay.
Okay. Where the taper bit comes in is really, really super fine point on the taper on it. The dentists don't use that bit very often because it doesn't fit. It's not fitting what they do. They use a different set of bits usually because they're working on drilling on the teeth and stuff like that. So most of the bits they're using are slightly different, but they make 200 or 300 different type of shapes of bits.
Where do you get your bits? Where do you order them from?
I've got them from a couple different sources. This came from Microcopy. It's the company that I purchased it from. This is from a dental supply company. Microcopy is the company I bought this one from. I think that's the same one as those others.
How long do those bits last, Trey?
Usually you got to break them before they wear out. It's such a tiny bit. It's very easy to break.
And they're super hard. They're designed to chew up enamel, so.
Yes.
But Bob, you asked how long they'll last. How often will you clean it? He just told us about cleaning that tip off. Once it starts gumming up, the heat will become unbearable for it, and it will fracture.
What you wind up having on there, as it gums up, you will wind up all the way around the bit. That's the same. The bit actually will wind up with nothing but wood, clogged up on it, and it will stop cutting. It'll burn and stop cutting. So that's the time to clean it. This one here still looks pretty good. But once you start using it, at least every few minutes or so. But any of the dental supply companies is your best source of bits. It depends on how many you're going to use and that kind of stuff. There's few other companies that sell them. I think some of the carving places sell them and stuff like that. You pay a lot more for them, but they sell the smaller quantities. But the key thing is 169L 699L, and that is hard and soft on wood types. That's the key right there. So those sizes. Those are the two primary sizes you use. The other shape you'll use is a ball shape. And the end of it is nothing more than a ball, and you'll use it for stippling. And that I can just push straight in. And stippling is just putting little dots down.
You're out of camera.
What size ball end is it?
This ball here is
8,000.
It looks like it's less than an 1/8 inch. This particular one, but they come in a full range of sizes. And again, it's carbide. The balls come. Okay. I'll zoom in on this. These are two different balls. See if I can find the camera. Okay, both of those are balls on the end of it. This one here looks like a 1/64 of an inch, where this one here is probably 3/16 of an inch. I'm sure it's all metric, but they come in very, very, very tiny balls. And the little balls, there's a good use for them too. I'll slip this little ball on here. Yeah.
Would you clean those on aluminum too?
Well, let me back up. That's what I was actually cutting was aluminum. I just went ahead and on this one here, just sign my name on it. And you can do that on just about anything. You can do it on steel because since it's carbide, you can do it on steel. So I've got a piece of steel handy. It's not hardened. I don't know whether this is hardened or not, but okay, I just signed the screwdriver with that little tiny bit. So it'll cut and edge, cut just about anything. I don't use, you can use some diamond on wood, but the problem with diamond is it clogs so badly. You know what happens when you sand real fast? Well, this is sanding super fast when you use the diamond. It'll cut it, but it doesn't do as well with it. This is a little diamond, and this is more of a carving. Do it very well. Not piercing, but more of a carving. I'm off camera again, aren't I? Put a big X there. So the tool can be used for more than just simple. That was just a little groove I carved in there. But that little groove, that was a simple little groove, but let's say I have a leak. That's a quick little leak with that. So quick little leaf shape. And as I say, the nice thing about it is it's not directional. It's not, it's not really, it's not going to run much. I'm not holding it I'm just holding it like this at the end of it. It's not running. If I had another tool, it would be running all over the place. This would be running. It's going to pull on. It's going to pull and run on, where the higher speed doesn't.
What air pressure are you running that at, Trace?
I'm running this about 35 PSI.
And he did mention he has a dryer, and the dryer is a critical part of the system.
Yes, it is. Let's see if I can pull that part over where you can actually see it.
Bob is asking, what is the difference between the 4-hole and the 2-hole?
It was on the dental.
This is what I have set up for. This is what I've set up for controlling my air. I have compressor is hooked up to here. Regulator, keep it, it's down set to about 35. Air dryer, and then I have an on-off valve on it. And I actually use the exact same thing for my airbrush. My airbrush would plug into the exact same thing here. All I do is disconnect this. Now I'm ready to use my airbrush. On the same control. But any other questions that I've missed or anything else you want to cover? Or you can sit here and watch me do some piercing, but it's redundant.
Trey, what does the dryer do?
The dryer makes sure that the water coming in and getting into the tool.
Okay.
I don't have a problem in my shop with water, so it's probably not that big a deal. It's probably not that big a deal on right here, and it's because when my air is distributed in my shop and everything, I don't have a water problem with it. But I did at one time have water problems with
I live in the desert and water is not a problem, but occasionally I just drain the pressure in the bottom of the tank and let the little waters in there drain out.
You should be draining that daily, and I'm guilty of not doing that too, but it should be done daily. And it's not because of water getting into your air from the tank. The problem is it's corroding the inside of your tank.
Yep.
Mhm. Then it becomes a bomb.
I'll get lazy.
Well, I tell you what I did downstairs, and I'm still lazy with it too, but I moved and put a valve so I don't have to reach up underneath my tank to drain it. The valve sticks out from underneath the edge of the tank, and I can reach down there and turn it. And I have a hose from that tank going outside to blow the water outside instead of blowing it in my shop.
The water comes from the humidity in the air, which you pull in. When you condense the air by compressing it, the temperature drops, so you get condensation, and the condensation is what collects within the lines and in your equipment that you use. So no matter where you're at, sea level or even in the desert, you'll have 5, 7, 8% moisture. Even that will cause issues. So it's the temperature drop when you compress it that causes the condensation. That's why you need the water collector.
Your temperature actually rises when you compress it. However, if I take air and compress it, I will increase the humidity of the air that's in there. Water doesn't compress, so if I start with 50% relative humidity and compress it 4 times what it was, I now have gone to 200% humidity, and that means that half that water is going to go out and get into your tank.
It has to go somewhere, yes.
It will get out and go into your tank. And once your tank cools back off from the hot air going into it, it will condense in your tank.
Yes.
If the hot air is getting into your air lines, it will condense in your air lines and blow water through your air lines.
They recommend at least 20 feet between the compressor and your equipment that you use to blow with your gun, your I can't think of the term right now, but whatever equipment you use, they recommend 20 feet, 25 feet between the tank and your equipment that you use to expel the air, to propel the air, I should say.
Wow.
I wrote an article that's posted on our website on removing the air in your lines and stuff. go look at it. It goes into a lot of detail of what you need to do to help. If you plumb the shop, the best way to get control that air moisture in your lines. But you will have, you're very likely, with a regular compressor, you're likely to have water in those lines, and you need to get it out of the lines before it gets to your tool.
Yeah, every day.
Mm-hmm.
And you make
Any
little ice
other
balls
question?
when you drain your tank.
Hmm?
Ask again, Dane.
I said you generate a little ice ball when you drain your tank.
Yeah, because it does the opposite. When you compress it, it heats up, and when you expand it, it cools down.
Yep.
Yeah.
Even out here in 100-degree Arizona.
Yep. Well, that's the way the refrigeration process works with Freon and everything else. It's the same process.
Yep.
And the problem is if you get the hot air in your lines and in a line, and you don't get the water out of those lines, it will go all the way to your tools. It may not be as bad in Arizona as it is in Mississippi, but I used to blow water out of my regular airlines when I was before I changed my plumbing around to support it.
I worked offshore for a general contractor, and almost all the tools we used were air powered, and the major culprit in having them fail was moisture, because some of our workers just didn't understand what that air filter, that water filter was for, or how important it was, or the routing of the hoses, et cetera, to build up water traps before they got into equipment, or even using blowdown equipment and not cleaning the lines out. It moves after that. So, all right. Any other questions for Trace tonight?
Let me add one additional thing. That water separator will remove water. It will not reduce the humidity that's in your airline. So if you're blowing hot air out, if you're getting hot air out of your compressor, pressure's running, got hot air into it, and the hot air is getting into your airlines, and then you have a dehumidifier at your compressor, and you're blowing the hot air into your hoses, the air will cool down in your hoses, and water will condense in that hose past that air dryer. You need the air dryer at your line. That's right before it gets to the tool, the final section in there.
Mine's right where yours is, right about 1 inch away from my regulator, and that's on a 3 foot of hose up to my tool. My NSK is probably a dozen years old and runs like new. But I have played with the less expensive ones, and I say played. Some of us have gotten costly experiences from that. The article Trace has on airlines is on our worldwidewoodturners.org website, designing your shop airlines to control water. And David Rose just put a link of that into our chat. And that's, ooh, my jaw hurts.
Yeah.
You can also use a dental drill to pierce too. That's another option. Like the one I'm showing in my hand. The only thing you do have to do is you have to get an adapter to come off the back of the tool.
Huh.
It's a special adapter. Well, it's because this tool was designed for air in, water in, and everything else. So it's designed to have water flowing through it and everything else. So they make adapters for them, and this is actually a 4-prong plug, and that will plug into that. Spin it up. What's it bent? Then it's throwing into the box. That plugs into there, and that screws onto there. And the only thing I'm hooked up is to the air side of it, but it's made for air and water. The hoses has air and water going through it. So, and then there's a return. There's an air in and there's a return on the air on the dental thing. So they're not blowing all the air in your mouth. It'll work too. Just make sure you get one that has a high enough thing on it. May be hard to find, but they do make a little router stand that supports the NSK. It's a little plastic stand.
I believe I got mine from Treeline, which was at one time was an excellent source for that equipment, bits, et cetera, et cetera. Let me caution you, if you're buying bits off of eBay, it might not be the deal it looks like.
It is eBay.
Okay, any other questions or comments for Trace tonight?
One more
Excellent demo,
question,
Trey.
Trey. One more
Yeah.
question. Now, you said that that's going, what's the RPM on your tool?
About 350,000.
Okay, so that, like that blue motor that you have for a rotary, that's over on your right, you panned it earlier?
You talking about this?
Yes, that's not fast enough?
This
No.
turns 35. This turns 35,000. This turns 350,000.
Okay,
Actually, I think this turns about 25.
Yeah, for the, is that a master carver tray?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I have the same one, and I have used those dental bits on the top speed with that and been able to pierce, but the NSKs or the dental drills work a lot better.
okay, thanks, man.
It'll pierce, but if you remember what you're dealing with, when you get down to it, remember when you get to the center of your turning, which is the center part of your turning, your cut slows way down. So this bit is so tiny at the end of it. If it doesn't turn fast, it's not going to cut as well. And what's going to happen is it's going to cut slower. And yes, you can use the dental bits with this. It's just a lot slower cutting, especially if you try to go to the 699L and 169L. They're very, very tiny on there.
Anything else for Trace tonight? Trace, thank you, sir. You cleared up a lot of mysteries and answered some questions. Now it's up to our membership to jump on board and see what we can decorate. I went to a workshop with Ben Poe, and then I met him again when his book and items came out in Mobile. It was an awesome exhibit, and just to see the variety of work that this man produced was unbelievable.